Under whose guidance and support, we created the group. So speaking of the Alumni Association, it is now my pleasure to welcome one of its most dedicated leaders who we all work with all the time, and that's Danielle Harvey-Stinson, Assistant Vice President of Alumni Relations. And Danielle has played a critical role in the formation of this group, or its transformation. And this was once a group of 3 women's groups, each ready to sunset. Now it's one unified dynamic network of extraordinary women. So please welcome Danielle Harvey-Stinson.
So this is a sing-along, everybody. Can everyone hear me okay? I'll try to project over the wonderful karaoke event that's happening next door. It's holiday season, so we can't be mad at that. So thank you, Karen, and good evening, everyone. We are delighted to be here in the California Club with so many alumni and supporters of the Trojan and Society of Trojan Women tonight. The university has been steadfast in its support of diversity and inclusion in all aspects, from race to gender to age. Specifically for our alumni, the USC Alumni Association maintains and fosters a community of Trojan women and provides opportunities with cutting-edge programs like tonight to support, encourage, and empower alumni to enhance their lives and our Trojan family. As an example of this commitment to all women of the USC Trojan family, it can be seen in our 12-foot sculpture of Hecuba, also known as the Queen of Troy, at the newly minted USC Village. Hecuba's right arm is outstretched as a welcome to the Trojan family and the surrounding community. Her story is told in classical works from Homer's Iliad and Odyssey to the timeless tragedy Hecuba and the Trojan women. And like those classic stories, Hecuba stands tall, preserving and protecting her Trojan family and village. Sculpted by a USC parent, Christopher Slatoff, Hecuba also stands atop an 8-foot base that depicts women of African, Asian, European, Latina, Native American, and Eastern Mediterranean descent, much like the faces that I see in this room tonight. So it's really exciting, and if you have not seen it, please go and see it in person. It is remarkable. It is Hecuba's passion, power, and wisdom that serve as the cornerstone and theme of our upcoming 10th annual USC Women's Conference. We invite you to join us March 22nd through the 24th in 2018 as we celebrate this milestone anniversary showcasing the accomplished and talented members of our Trojan family. So please save the date for that. And tonight begins that conversation, which we will continue in March. And although we strive to be our best in both professional and personal lives, there are times when we can use the advice, guidance, and support of others. And that is exactly what our keynote speaker, Brandon Maslan, does for his clients, and I am pleased he is joining us this evening to lead the discussion. Brandon is an executive coach, paid speaker, and corporate trainer. Over the course of his career, he has helped hundreds of top executives advance their careers, get elected to boards, and expand their personal brands. For the past 3 years, he has worked as a member advisor at Advancing Women Executives, AWE. And AWE's mission is to increase the number of women in senior management and on boards to improve the overall global economy and create a lasting social impact. So I know we're in for a very special treat tonight. Let's please give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Brandon.
Thank you so much.
It's always fun to listen to other people talk about you. If I have a dream that just someone will come up and basically just give my talk, but it's my responsibility. First off, thank you. Actually, thank you for everyone to be here tonight. I think an investment into yourselves is an investment into the greater collective future. I believe that because I'm part of the world's smallest fraternity. We're called male feminists. Actually, Webster's, I'm a little annoyed actually, because Webster's, I'm happy because Webster's dictionary, right, they just found out the most searched word of the year was feminism. I'm annoyed because now all these guys are running around being like, I'm a male feminist. I was like, no, I was that before it was cool. What the hell? But I'm happy because I don't get to say my joke as much anymore at the world's smallest fraternity. I had a powerful conversation with one of the heads of the social work school today who is a really remarkable human being. I never am ceased to amaze at the remarkable leaders and people that are part of USC. And for most men in my field, it's a personal reason. I'm no different. I could tell you about my amazing mother, who's a Baltimore City school teacher, my incredible sister, but my wife is a Trojan. And so as Nori Kelly once said, as long as your wife's a Trojan, you're in. So a good friend of mine's here, Mike Miles, and he has the same good taste. So yeah, it's the only reason we're the only two guys. We're Trojans. Fight on. And 9 months ago, we had our first child, and it's a daughter.
Oh, good. Congratulations.
I am trying to change the world. I really am. And I'm especially trying to change the world for my daughter more than anything. And at the rate we were going, statistically, for women in leadership and on corporate boards, it was going to take around 150 to 200 years. I have a lot of hope this year because of so much things that have happened. But even then, in my wildest dreams, thought maybe we get to 100. Then I was like, that's not good enough, 50. But I have 21 years. 21 years before my daughter enters the workforce. And I'm going to do everything I can to make this world a better one for her. But I can't do anything. And I think this is the point of my session tonight. Yes, I do. I love this, by the way. This is great. This is awesome. Just dance in the moment. So I'm going to talk to you about a few things. The introduction really was, everyone, I'm a recovering lawyer.
Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
Listen, my family lawyers. Before I moved to California, I didn't know there was such a thing as happy lawyers. Apparently there was. I know. On the East Coast, there's not. I got you. I come from a qualified. That's my last lawyer joke.
Okay. Yes.
I was a legal recruiter for many years, actually, all around downtown LA. Before that, I actually moved to LA when I was transitioning out of law. And if you're going to be unemployed anywhere in the world, do it in LA because it seemed like no one had a job. It's like, what are you doing today? Hiking? Of course. Why did you go to work? In my journey, though, I was smart enough to listen to two really remarkable women, my sister and my wife. Why would you think that that was remarkable? Is because if you really understand my sister and wife, my sister is like, if you want to follow Harry Potter, my sister is very much like a Slytherin. And my wife is very much like a Hufflepuff.
Oh.
My sister is secretly a Hufflepuff, and my wife is like secretly a Slytherin. And that's just to say they're incredibly nice, but they're kind of badasses. And from different coasts, they agreed that this should be what I do. I could tell you all the lives I've changed and all the lives I've impacted, but I can tell you more than anything, my life has been impacted and changed and transformed. For the work I do at all, last year I did 390 hours of coaching just through advancing women executives. That's vice presidents or above. What I'm going to share with you today is this. I'm going to share with you what I've learned in the last 3 to 4 years of doing this work every day. Traveling around the country, I'll do 15 corporate trainings, mostly for lawyers. By the way, I'm painfully aware I look like this and I do this work, just in case you're wondering. So if I mansplain anything to you, smack me. All I'm trying to do is share the wisdom that I've learned and that I've watched people transcend, not to be successful, because I don't want anyone to be successful at the cost of happiness. I'm in the business of making successful, happy people. The world is filled with successful people who make so much unhappiness for other people because they're unhappy. What I think is wonderful, especially from a feminist perspective, is when powerful, incredible women win, you see the collective win. And you see that oftentimes when you see what I would call the evolved men in the world too. Smaller, but a few. All right, so I've actually never taken notes, but it's USC, so I figured it's a little academic. Let's do this. All right, so first lesson, first thing I've learned, first thing I've seen. All great leaders have one thing in common. By the way, don't get tripped up on that word leader. I coach plenty of people who are interns and starting their careers. My new passion is sort of that next level, to watch that next generation evolve. But all leaders have one thing in common. They are focused on growth, and they are unhappy when growth does not happen. And that doesn't just apply to our personal life or professional life, that can be our personal life. But one of the tricks that society has pulled is that we have to climb a ladder. From an advancing human executive's perspective, please climb that ladder. We need you at the top of it. But if that's not your gig, or you have your own company or whatever it is, then start looking left or right. I don't care how people grow, but great leaders are always in growth. That's number one, they're never stagnant. Number two, by the way, this book is really cool. It's my book, but that's Gloria Steinem to Brandon. How cool is that? I'm like, yeah, I know, I like Gloria. She once said, she was asked, who are you going to pass your torch to? And she said, why would I pass my torch? I'm not done with it. I'll use it to light others. I hope everyone lights each other's torches and we change the world together. We need more light, more than ever. Alabama's getting it right to start with. Okay, number two. One of the things I'm an expert in is helping people discover their professional brands. The way we do that at Advanced Human Executives, and the way I've done that in countless trainings. What is your goal? What is your mission? What is your vision? What makes you incredibly unique? And what are the successes that back it up? And then what's the whole you? And from the unique perspective, great leaders have two things in common. They share vision and strategy. Those two things. If you're a CEO, you may be more of a visionary. If you're a CFO, you may be more strategy. But know that in each of you, every single one has vision and you have strategy. And at your core, that's at least one thing that everyone has in common. We know you're smart, you went to USC. If you went to UCLA, maybe not. I'm kidding, I have nothing against them. By the way, I once said, by the way, USC socks. But I'm dressed in blue. I did a training one time and I was talking about USC. I talk about, whenever I do my art of networking training, I always talk about the greatest network in the world I know, and it's USC. It is, every job my wife got in entertainment was through USC. But the secret she knew was, and this is one of the things that maybe we should think about more, is she was great at doing something in LA and entertainment people weren't great at. She'd go back to the people who helped her along the way and she said, thank you. But she asked one more question. How can I help you? The higher we go in our career, the less people ask us how they can help us. But we are so invested in those who do. So, big picture and vision and strategy might seem pie in the sky and it might seem nice, but it's not enough. What it boils down to, and this is the single most important thing, is action. One domino sets a chain reaction that changes your life and the lives of others. And action is the hardest thing, because what we're going to talk a little bit about today is why do people not take action? They know what they need to do. They know who they are. They don't take action, and it's because we all are afraid. We all have fear. If you want a better example of fear in this world, look at Donald Trump. That is a terrified man, and we sometimes confuse power. I see those people as weak. They are afraid, and that's why they cause harm. But one thing we all have in common is we're afraid. Not everyone got love. Not everyone got compassion. But the alt-right and the far left have this in common. They're afraid of something. And I'm not saying you have to accept their behavior, but at least you can understand them. And if you can understand them, then oh my God, we can understand one another when we have shared values. And we can transcend together. Fear is a good thing. It may be one of the best things, because it is a motivator. Most people who have gotten to the top of their careers have been motivated by fear and hope. And fear pushes us. It says, oh, whatever we tell stories, these childhood wounds, we're not smart enough, we're not good enough, but it helps us get to here. But then it starts limiting us every single day, because it may have gotten us here, but it will never get us there. Fear is a good thing until it's not. I'm not saying get rid of fear, just replace it with a new one. What if my company will be a success, but what if it's not the biggest success it can be? Whatever it is, replace those fears, but don't keep old fears. We see ourselves as we were, not as we are, and certainly not as who we are going to be. If I have anything that my clients say to me most, it's, Brandon, you see me for who I am, you help me see that helps me see myself for who I am. But most importantly, we see who they're going to be. See yourself into the future. And if you struggle for that, we can't do it alone. I had someone who sat at a kitchen table and they said, this was the worst exercise I've ever had to do. Not because they didn't know what they wanted to do, not because they didn't know their successes, but they couldn't figure out anything what was unique. For 4 hours they were in pain, until they literally gave up and just threw a pen, picked up the pen and wrote whatever came to their minds, like, this is bullshit, this isn't unique, this isn't powerful. And their significant other comes into the room and goes, what are you working on? Nothing, it's stupid, it's a dumb exercise for this class I gotta go to. what is it? I'm supposed to say what my superpower is, what makes me unique. The spouse goes, but you're a connector, you're a collaborator, you move everything forward, and you just make things better. The person starts crying. And those are the 4 words she wrote. And I share that with you because we don't have to spend 4 hours in pain. We can talk to someone who knows us and figure out where we are. And that's kind of what I do for people, but that's what we can do for one another. Because we limit ourselves by our limiting beliefs by not seeing who we are. And so one of the things we're going to do today in the exercise is really express our fears, express our limiting beliefs, but also we're going to share, even a perfect stranger, what we see in that person. If that's true for a perfect stranger, it's certainly true for our spouse, our friends, and our colleagues who believe in us. By the way, from friends, avoid the frenemy. A frenemy is anyone who's not happy for your success. And in case you're wondering who they are, you're probably not happy for theirs. It's true. Find your unique superpower and help others find theirs. That thing I told you about, the colleague, the spouse, friend, or colleague, friend, family member, whoever it is. By the way, if you have children, ask your children, especially if they're teenagers and they don't talk to you. Because out of their mouths, they are the ones who see you best. They may not tell you, but they see you. And I know someone who just got a promotion. I like CBS, but they're slow to promote. But luckily, they promoted the right people to the top, and they should. Sorry, Nori just got a big promotion. So, yay, Nori, you're awesome. And one of my clients just got a promotion. And the way he got it, though, was his kid said, you know, Dad, there was a time on a mountain where I was stuck, and all the other dads took in their kids because it was a blizzard. But you said we're going to ski, and I hated you then. But I'm the best skier out of all my friends. That's who you are. In times of chaos and trouble, and CBS at times has that. But at times, CBSI, not CBS Studio, they're great. But at times there's chaos in entertainment and in all industries. There's chaos. But if you're the person who creates calm and makes people better, that's a leader. That was a story that he shared with his boss, and that no small degree led to his promotion. The point is, sometimes we don't see ourselves for who we are. But our children, our friends, they do. Ask them, have them see you. Energy versus time. I used to coach tons of people on time. I used to say you need more time because it's only in time that we can dream big. It's only, by the way, from a corporate space, only in safety that we can innovate or create. If you're in an unsafe environment, nothing happens. And that's one of the terrifying things about this work. Because the more you bring all of you, the more you're going to come into conflict with that which is not you. And so what I mean by that is, if you become the most you've ever been, but you don't create the change you want, it may not be you that's a problem. Sometimes it's the place you're at. And sometimes if you just simply take yourself out of that place and you do it somewhere else, magic happens. Energy versus time. I used to coach on time, but then I had a child, and then I think, Brandon, you simple fool. There's no such thing as time. Your wife's busy at Pinterest. You're busy traveling the country. By the way, she's not busy doing Pinterest. She works at Pinterest. She uses Pinterest. It's great. Everyone uses Pinterest, please. But she actually works there. Heads up. There's a PR department, and we don't have time. What we have access to is energy. Energy vampires suck, whether they're people or things we do. So avoid them. But energy providers are everything. And sometimes life isn't sunshine and roses. There's things that aren't always going to energize us. But as long as we skew to being more energized than de-energized, we'll get to where we're meant to be. And surround yourself by those people who energize you most. Here's my lessons that I've taken away from all these brilliant women. 1, growth. Be in growth. And if you're wondering how do I grow, if you're wondering where I go, ask yourself something, a Dr. Seuss thing. If you're wondering where to grow towards, great women ask themselves these questions. And great men. What is my gift? What is the thing I do better than anyone in the world or anyone I know? And do that thing. We so oftentimes deny our gifts because we're afraid of what it will mean for us. I would love to tell you that I would have been the world's greatest lawyer, but there was this thing called a super lawyer. And the one thing I knew pretty early on in my career was that I was never going to be a super lawyer. I think about recruiting, I think about how I used to run around this area. But as a recruiter, I was never going to stand in front of all of you and talk. All I want is people to feel better, to do better, and to be more. I know what it is to spend most of my life feeling less. I know what it is to spend my life feeling in pain and looking in a mirror and seeing some reflection that doesn't look like me or doesn't feel like me. When people said nice things, I said, you don't see me. You don't know the real me. But when I became a coach, I sat in a circle of strangers. And in that circle of strangers, they said all things that my friends and families had said. And when it wasn't resonating, one thing that was said to me was, Brandon, why don't you believe these people? And I said, this is the thing that people say to you because they want to be nice. And then they said, what if everyone in your life wasn't lying to you? And I said, I must be pretty good at that. And I watched all these men who just wanted harm and worse for people rise. And all I wanted was a better world. I chose to listen to them, and I chose to do more, not less. I wish that for all of us. Oh, great leaders are in growth passion, but connect and empower. They connect with others and they empower them. When we don't feel empowered, empower someone else. That's my greatest trick. I love what I do because I don't have to talk about me. And I get to focus on other people, and it makes me feel connected to them. And when they rise, I believe in a better world. I know that sounds really powerful. And if I seem optimistic or you're a pessimist, I know you hate me. I get it. You would have loved me when I was a lawyer, last joke. But I am positive because that's the only way change happens. It does not happen in a negative. We know where we're weak. I champion you to get better. But a man in LA who passed away, unfortunately, tragically, a good friend of mine, his name is Benny Goldman. He is a Grammy musician. He passed away going from an underprivileged school to another underprivileged school to teach kids. Then to go do his jazz gig that night. And two people were racing that, so he killed him instantaneously. There's a t-shirt that I have of his, and he says these words in the back. And I'm going to paraphrase. If you're lucky enough to have a gift, just one thing, do that thing. Do that thing every single day. As you connect with one another, see if you don't see that gift in someone else and share it with them. And if you have that gift, please do it every day. I can't think of a better way to honor a brilliant man. And finally, share your wisdom and take action. You are brilliant. You went to USC, we know that. It takes one domino. I am many things in this world. Ooh, I'm loud. But besides that, I'm a man. I'm a man of action. But more importantly, I'm a person who inspires action. And I do that by holding people accountable. I hope you chose your seat wisely today, because the person sitting next to you may be your new best friend. So I hope this was smart on your way. Look to your left or right, you're stuck. Awesome. Because we're about to engage in, so it's gonna get gnarly. Work is hard. A good friend of mine, Mike, says that, Brandon, I'm not sending anyone to you that's not ready to do work, so I hope everyone's ready to do some work. All right, let's do this thing. All right, so I don't have the answers you do. What I want you to do is turn to your new best friend. And if it's going to feel, by the way, it's not going to feel like enough time to connect today, because it's not enough time to connect today. Nothing happens in a room. My nightmare's a Tony Robbins effect. I feel inspired, I feel changed, I forget it's too hard. Everything that happens will happen outside the room, all the learning, everything. So what I want to do is turn to the person next to you, and here's the first question. We're going to have 3 interactive exercises. Number 1, you choose who goes first. Person with the coolest shoes, but my wife says that's a weird one. Choose who goes first, and then here's what I want you to do. Answer this question. As you look into the future, what is one fear you have? As you look in the future, what's one fear you have? Person who's listening, though, for the first 2 exercises, the listener is going to say absolutely nothing. All you're going to do is listen. It is not until the 3rd thing. And if you're thinking, I can't change someone's life, the only lives that have ever been changed is by someone listening, not by someone talking. So, person, look into the future, share your fear. Second person, do the greatest gift you can maybe give someone, and listen intently. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, do you have a question?
Yeah, does it have to do with employment?
It can be with anything. Yep. 1, 2, 3, break. Go for it. switch. Make sure you switch. Make sure you switch. You can have it switch. Okay. All right, we're gonna keep this tight. We only have. Okay, we're gonna switch to the next question. So, if it doesn't feel like enough time to connect today, it is because it's not enough time to connect today. But I want to make sure we hear from the brilliant panelists we have too. Here's the next question you're gonna ask to answer. Ready? By the way, my favorite thing is not no one listening to me, just so you know. No, I mean that. Like, I have a dream that I'll just have people do an exercise, I'll exit stage left and never come back. So here's the second thing I want you to answer. Because our fears are tied to something, and it's a limiting belief. There's a limiting belief we hold about ourselves that may or may not be true. Usually it's not true. I want you to answer this question. Turn to the person you just shared your fear with. Maybe the person who went first goes second this time. But answer this question. My limiting belief about myself is what? Go. 1, 2, 3, go. I love it. I love USC. I love USC because when I do these sessions for normal audiences, they really respect the, like, I'm just going to listen, not talk. But USC, we can't not help them. It's like, it's impossible. It's like we have to. Don't tell me not to help this person. All right. So here's the last part of this exercise. We want to make sure we get to our panelists. The last part of this exercise. Can I ask you one question just from a perspective? Everyone has either shared a fear or a limiting belief to some degree, correct? And again, limiting belief is any belief that we held about ourselves that holds us back, that we feel like we're not smart enough, good enough, anything that doesn't allow us to move forward in some way, we're limiting ourselves. Here's my question. Did everyone hear someone share something that sounded courageous or powerful? Raise your hand if you heard something that was powerful. I love that because sometimes we think our fears are our weakness, sometimes overcoming our fears. A woman, she was saying socialism, and she's happy as hell because she's socialism and socially blocked. Exactly. So the point of the story is, sometimes we hold ourselves back without realizing how far we've come. So So, I love it. Can you come with me always? I'm with you. All right, now, this part I really do want you to honor. This is the only part where I really need you not to say anything, if you're listening. Because the person who has heard your fear and your limiting belief is going to share with you either one of these things. Why you're unique. What, if you want to really be geeky, what's your superpower? Or why that limiting belief is so not based in reality, because you are so unreal and remarkable at who you are. However, which one of those you want to answer it, but share with that person why they should no longer have that fear or limit themselves. And since I'm a nerd, share with them the superpower. All right, really 1 minute and 1 minute. So person who's listening, please listen and say nothing, but take it in as fact and truth. And then we'll switch.
Tell us again what we're doing.
So what you're doing is this. I know I talk fast. So what we're doing is this. You're turning to the person, and you're going to share one of these 3 things. What is truly unique about them that you've seen? What is, you're already heading home. What is your superpower? What is something that's so unique, so super about that individual? Or if you want to go to negative, which is fine, why is their limiting belief not one they should share? Because it's truly not reflective of who they are. Whichever of those 3 you want to answer. But the point is, share it, and the person who's listening, say nothing. 1, 2, 3. Switch. Person who's talking, listen. Switch. I made a promise in the beginning that this would not be enough time. This is not enough time. So, listen, keep talking. Here's what I want. Here's the way we're going to assure that this carries forward. Not now, we're going to bring our panelists up now, and we're going to have a great conversation. But what I ask you to do before you leave here today, and by the way, everyone's already done this, I can tell, exchange contact information. The way to lock this in is email one another, and set one accountability item that you can do, one action you can take to move yourself forward. And so hold each other accountable, because then we can hold others accountable and we can change the world together. Someone said to me, "You're making us cry." I asked if they at least laughed, and so we had a whole experience. I do this session because I don't have the answers. I really do believe that you do. I really do. We just don't access it enough for ourselves and the others. So stay connected. Keep crying and laughing. If it's okay, I'm gonna bring up our speakers. So, all right. I've got this little, I don't like being behind a podium. It feels like a barrier, but I have this thing. All right. All right. I'm gonna keep talking. And let's all right. I promise, I do. No. I know, listen, I promised you one thing. It wouldn't be enough time to talk. All right, one more minute. No, I'm kidding.
I'm sure glad you retired from law. I'll tell you. I'd hate to oppose you in court. Yeah, you're on it.
I love it. Oh, it's great. All right, I'm going to coach. Yes. Hold each other. So just so we're clear. And so here's why I want it to be not enough time in this room. Because if there's enough time in this room, we won't stay connected out of this room. So I need it. That's really why. It's purposely short. Because if we get everything we need now, we don't carry it out there. And you'll remember that moment you had as truth of who you are, and the person will remember it as truth of who they are. Everything happens outside this room. I know we had some amazing moments in the room, but all the action happens when we leave. So I want us to reconnect and find one action item that we can hold each other accountable to. Brandon, I need to ask for promotion, or I need to update my LinkedIn, or whatever it is. From that simple to, I need to transform the way I see myself so that others transform the way they see me. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring up our speakers. I've never had to read someone else's bio, so I'm going to try to do this really well. First, I'm going to call Diane Manuel. Okay. Diane. I don't come down. You can move. So Diane is a financial advisor with Urban Wealth Management, a financial planning firm with a mission of helping women become savvier about money as they grow their portfolios. She joined UWM after a successful career at Merrill Lynch and the California Endowment and the J. Paul Getty Museum. She has over 20 years of experience helping individuals and organizations identify, implement, and accomplish their life goals. She graduated from the USC Sol Price School of Public Policy in 1982. Please welcome her. I would also like to invite our second panelist, a graduate from the Marshall School of Business, Christina Karagias, my Greek is a little rough, up to the stage. Christina owns and operates several businesses in the food service and hospitality industry. Visit these always, including Lucky Boy Restaurants in Pasadena, Paco's Mexican Restaurant in Arcadia, and City Cafe Restaurant and Bar in Azusa, in addition to the restaurant Republic. She is also an active community member participating in philanthropic activities that include adopting sponsorship of a park and Habitat for Humanity San Gabriel Valley chapter. Please give her a warm welcome. No, it's on top. Yep. You're on. Unless you want to sit there. You want to be in the middle? Okay.
Put your voice in the middle.
Oh, God. All right. It's too much attention for me. Okay. All right. You're happy I'm happy. So we had a conversation over Thanksgiving, and I was holding up in the basement, and I feel like we were all, it was one of those great conversations where everyone was rapid fire, sharing, building upon one another. I take pride in knowing when people are so smart you can hear their brain working, and these are two of the smartest people I've ever met. One thing they have in common, though, are they are both women of action. So I'm very excited to sort of dig in. So you just did the exercise, And Diane, if you could go first, what fears have you faced in your career?
Ooh.
So, and I told Christina that I think one of my biggest fears is that I was adequate enough, or that I was knowing what I was doing. I remember being in a situation where I just got assigned a new job, and a colleague was briefing me on what I needed to do in the meeting. And I had some, in addition to that, I had some consultants who were reassigned to me, and I had to go meet the big boss, and I was scared to death, and I didn't know what to do. And I remember the boss asked me exactly what my colleague said she was gonna ask, but I didn't understand. You ever know when you're like, I don't understand what they're talking about? And all I did was repeat what the consultant said to me. I said, oh, the problem is blah, 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 blah. And then the boss said, yeah, that makes sense. I thought, oh, man, it's not that hard. And I feel frequently that, and people will tell you this, trust your gut, not as dumb as you think, and just roll with it, and 95% of the time, you're on the right track. But sometimes, I know for me, I get on the wrong side of my head, and I have to put that to the right side of my head.
So I'll ask you a little different. Either what careers have you faced in your career, or any fears you see in your business or industry as well?
The industry, I'm in the restaurant and hospitality industry, which is a very grueling industry where it's long hours and a lot of people, different personalities. And one of the biggest fear I had as an entrepreneur was I meet payroll. Well, the way to overcome the fear was Marshall School of Business taught me very well, be very prepared, and I was. But one thing that came up in my life, and it was about 7 years ago in 2010, we had a tornado out in Pasadena. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at all my employees, and I'm saying, it's not payroll. Will we have a business tomorrow? I had no electricity, and this lasted for 4 days. And I thought, I have now about 35 families depending on me, and I gotta do something. I thought fast. Battery operated lights to run, the light, just put little lights in the restaurant, very romantic. And then I thought generators, so I go get my generator. Well, I didn't start my generator. You're supposed to run it every year. Well, I didn't, so then I call my son. He happened to be at SC doing a program, and he ran down to Hawthorne, hauled back a couple generators. We got the restaurant up and running. Everything was, we didn't perish. And then I started cooking outside, and my chefs were looking at me like, what are you doing? We can't open. And we did. And we opened, and everybody stayed employed. We met payroll, and that's about it. I mean, just expenses, but we did it, and we did as a team.
Whoa.
And I bet you the people that you served were so happy, right?
Everybody around us was closed.
Right.
Yeah, everybody around us was
Pasadena
closed.
was a mess, right? Exactly.
Yeah. It's on YouTube.
Diane, I wonder if people come to you in a different kind of chaotic state at times, and what you faced in your industry. Because when I do this exercise, a lot of those fears are obviously around. A lot of people have fears around finances, and so what you've experienced around that from an industry, what you've seen from those times of chaos as well.
So what I see is, and I really want everyone to take this home with them, I see women not knowing about their money, not understanding it, and not feeling comfortable or confident around money or finances. And what I say to people is this, especially women, it's like we learn how this country is run, right? We can tell you how to get elected a mayor, a city council person, a dog catcher, president of the United States, senator. We know how to do that. We live in a democratic world. We also live in a very capitalist world. And if we don't understand our money, we perish. And we, as women, aren't really we feel we're not comfortable and confident about this. So what I'm here to say to you is that you all know it. You have it in you. It's already there. And I can tell you, guys just talk about it. They don't know what they're talking about.
It's true.
They're faking it. If I ask them about the bond market, they couldn't tell me. They have no idea. They'll put some words together and it'll be a sentence. So I'm here to tell you, you have the skills, you have the knowledge, you have the wherewithal to successfully manage your finances. And why is that important? Because the only way you fulfill your dream is if you have the resources to do it. And every single person in here has a different dream.
Beautiful. So, I don't know how to follow that. Tell us about Bitcoin. So here's, playing off that idea of dream and having the resources within all of us. Putting you a little bit on the spot here, and hopefully maybe your partner did a good job of this, but by the way, your best friend does an amazing job. If you ever want like a hype person, just bring her everywhere. She's like your own personal marketing department. She brought her childhood best friend every second. She tells me about some other remarkable thing she did, like get a liver for someone, take care of her when she needed someone. Makes everyone in the world feel like they're the only person in the world, no matter how busy she is. So have her come to the world. What I'd like to ask what I'd like to ask you is, I'm going to ask you my favorite question, which is, and I've got to know you from the energy perspective and the way you show up. What is your superpower?
My superpower is really my higher power, and I believe in God, and other people believe in the universe, and it's all really one. So for me, I believe I'm below something, and I look up to the universe, to God. It could be another dimension, could be right here. Sometimes it's just under my covers. And I need that time to strategize and think, because we're all reaching challenges. And the world is a little more complicated than we thought. And actually, there's always a simple answer to a complicated problem. And the best way to do it for me is through prayer and meditation. And then I research, strategize, and come up with a resolution. And guess what? There's always a fork in the road, right? So I just take it.
It's interesting because you both mentioned those moments of pause you had in your career, or maybe some moments of doubt. And there are some studies around this from a feminist perspective. Again, painfully aware, I look like this, talk about this. But I study the research, and the research says that for a guy to raise his hand to be certain that he can do the job or do the next thing, 50 to 60% certain. For a woman, studies have shown, for the most part in broad generalizations, 100%. I once turned to a male CEO on stage in a panel like this, and I said, based on a study alone, you should only hire women, because at least you know they can do the job. And on cue, he goes, mate, I haven't been ready for any job I've ever had, including this one. I'm like 40% certain I can do this one. I thought that was terrifying for the company. But I find it fascinating, because both of you were talking about either the moments within yourself that you know allowed you to go past that moment, or that belief in something bigger to let you, when maybe we couldn't do it for ourselves. For you, same question, unique superpower.
So on our prep phone call, you asked that question. And I said, well, he's not going to answer this question. And then they sent out notes, and I was like, oh, hell, it was on the list. And so yesterday, literally, I texted 4 of my friends. And I'm a big advocate of having your PAC, your personal advisory council, PAC, your crew, your homies, your tribe, whatever it is. I realize I need to diversify because I really don't have a white guy. But I think I found my... I was thinking about that. And I have a tendency to divide the world into dogs and cats. I'm a dog, I bark. Most of my friends are dogs, but some are cats, and I really listen to the cats, right? Because they don't talk a lot, but when they say something, you need to listen. So I asked 4 people, group email, and I was pretty sure everybody had everybody's phone number, but if not, I put everybody's name in the text. So they all know each other pretty well. One of the cats literally answered offline. That's how much of a cat she was. So she answered first, and she says, Diane, you have the ability to speak the truth. And I cringed, you know, I sent her back like some weird emoji, like, and she was
Can you
like,
text me that emoji?
and she was like, no, she's like, girl, that's a good thing. And I was like, okay. And sure enough, on the group text, everything came back exactly the same, to the point where one of my friends, another one of the cats, says, no, I don't know about superheroes either, so I asked my other friend about you. Wait a minute, so I just want you guys to pause. A friend asked somebody I don't know. That's how powerful a pack can be. That she went out to ask another friend, I'm unfamiliar with superheroes. This is who my friend is, and this is her personality. How would you describe her? And this friend came back and told her, Batwoman, because I guess Batwoman speaks truth to power. You know, I didn't know that. I'm gonna go get a comic or whatever. But the other side of that is I realized where did that come from, and I think it comes from when I was younger, I didn't speak up enough. And I would be mad. When you guys know, you've been in those meetings, those guys been saying all that kind of stuff, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't say anything, that was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. They're talking all the time. I mean, it's going on in your head, and you have these strategies, you write it down, next time I'm gonna do this, next time I'm gonna do that, and I just got tired of it. And I was like, you know what, when something comes up and I need to say it, I'm gonna say it. You know, of course, you pick your battles and what have you. And to be honest, I love being around, I'm late on the baby boomer side, but Gen Xers and millennials, because they tolerate nothing. And I've learned so much from them, like, yeah, that was stupid too. I was kind of thinking that, but I wasn't really sure. Because you're kind of used to the stupidness, you know, when you're in the workforce for a real long time. You're a lot of stupid. So, you know, in a day's time, I've learned something new about myself, and am really super proud of it and understand where it came from. And I think, so thank you for asking.
I love that. No, it's really, yeah, you're welcome. That's great. That one, I dig it. That was awesome. I want to point out that both of you, 2 things that happened, right? You talked about God and the universe, and then when you talked about, you had 27 different acronyms for pack and tribe, and, but what it had in common, even though 2 completely different things, was that vulnerability, that power of vulnerability. Brene Brown does a better job of talking about than I do, around when we make ourselves, we talk about fear of vulnerability, that is when people sometimes see the greatest power in us. And so you both talk about going out to see the power within. So I just love that. You know, you gotta end on a high note, right? But so I'm gonna mind the negative for gold, because I always do that, because you talked a little about that, and I so identified that living small or feeling less than, right? Sort of my story. I know,
yeah.
You know, to the outside world, maybe that was
right,
naive, but it doesn't matter, because that was my reality.
Right.
And so we think these things are negative, but I like manure and shit, because that's where the best things grow. And we sometimes avoid it, but one of the things I love about coaching is, well, that stuff happened now. And so, to ask you this, what de-energizes you? Because I'm going to end on what energizes you, what you're passionate, to sort of foreshadow the question I ask you. But first, any negative, what de-energizes you in your industry, with people, anything?
In general, because relationships are the most important, most valuable gift to us, and it's very, I'm not really de-energized. I try to not go into a sandbox, if I can describe it, where I think they're going to sip at my soul. And so when they start, say if someone's shouting at my face, I just smile and agree with them to disarm them. And then I think in my mind, and I go into a prayer meditative mode, and it's called mindfulness mindfulness training, where I say, okay, this person's obviously, not doing well today, or I'm not in their shoes, because we don't know what they're suffering. So I step out of my body and I let that person do their thing, and I'm just not going to go there with them into their sandbox. So later, and sometimes it has to be very quick. Usually people say wait 24 hours, but you'll know inside of yourself when to do this. But I create a really healthy boundary immediately and say, look, maybe today's not a good day, or do you want to go home, or is there anything else, is it me? And I always look at myself first. So that is exhausting, but it's part of life. So we say de-energize. No, it's not really de-energizing. We need to learn how to strategize and deal with it. It's challenging, and everything is that way in life. It's a challenge. It could be a good challenge, or it could be a very harsh and not such a happy moment, but it's still a challenge.
And so staying with what, you said something very powerful. You said in there, and it makes a lot of sense, I know you today, that you said sip at my soul. And I would imagine that's people and sometimes situations, right, that sip at your soul. So here's my question. What fills up, this is very unique to you, what fills up your soul? People or situations?
Well, this room fills my soul, or this room is my space tonight, and it's like something we all created. So what my passion is really being able to help others, and that's something that makes me feel happy inside, because it comes to one very famous quote that we've all heard. It's love one another. What does that really mean? That means respect one another. And that's what it really means. It doesn't mean like we hug. I mean, you have to really take care of that person or love them. It just means respect them for who they are, and it'll all work out. Take that journey. Don't be afraid. And the most important thing, and Diane, I'm going to, truth to power, which is a very Greek term, aletheia. Aletheia, and you've seen that written down, it means truth. So speak the truth and always be virtuous, areti. Virtuous meaning, we've have different words for it, but it means really be who you are and be a trusted advisor to someone. And that's how you'll gain the respect that one needs.
Does anyone have a mic so she can drop it? Okay. All right, your turn. De-energize, and then of course,
So
energize your passion.
Yeah, I think as Christina said, there's been a number of times, the workforce is so interesting. And in that, as you said, people show up in front of you with issues and what have you, and you're like, what's going on? And I'm not as good as Christina is, and I've gotten better, but I'm like, why is this person talking to me like this? And I remember, and this is kind of what cured me, and I've gotten better since then, is I went home one time, and I don't know what that sign said. Should I spelled it?
Oh.
We're going to go behind the scenes. We're going to go to Q&A in a second. In case you're wondering. Ignore that woman behind the There is no wizard.
Okay,
all right.
So it happened at work, and I came home, and my husband was like, I got to take a walk, and blah, 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 happened. And he, after one block, he's like, why do you care? That's not your issue. And, it's like, oh, he is absolutely right. This is not my issue. I did what I was supposed to do. But, I learned then, it's like, okay, when that happens, I can't internalize it because it's not my thing. So what energizes me is solving injustice. And what does that mean to me? Of course, there's a philanthropic part of me. I have a giving circle. I used to work in philanthropy. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. But I look at it in terms of what I do now. helping women with their finances. It's an injustice that women don't think they're competent enough to freaking add their stuff together and handle their mortgage and stuff like that, because we can't. So my thing in life is that, and I think that's where my friends talk about speaking truth to power, is that if I see something that's not right, I'm gonna find the most professional way to explain to you why I don't think it's right. And, and I have my little taglines, like, with all due respect, and some other taglines that I use, but that is such a, to me, I'm in a passionate place, because I understand that solving injustice, I can't do it alone. I need a whole bunch of people, and I'm looking to fill up the team. And I don't need to be the quarterback, because there's people that know more than I do. But as long as I think we're moving whatever things are important to us forward, I'm happy. Doesn't need to be solved tomorrow, as long as we're moving everything forward. My colleague and I do that at a job every day, and it's the best thing in the world.
Boom. I love that word boom. It just means exponential growth to me. I did a session, which was called Boom, I Got This. It's all about growth. And boom is that idea that we're in growth, but you gotta feel like you got it. And I just wanna just say how privileged I am to sit on stage with two remarkable human beings that not only have grown and exceeded in their career, but have had the fortitude to know they've got it. And then what they've done is gone back and helped other people grow. I feel like they've got it. That is just a tremendous gift to give to the world. I'm grateful to be on the stage. Normally I would ask Q&A, you called it. Thank you. Yeah, we see it. So I think there's a mic up here, but does anyone have any questions? It's pretty fun to ask them. It's pretty awesome. Does anyone have any questions for anyone on the stage? And then I'll recap a little bit before we go around.
No questions?
You guys don't have any questions?
Don't raise your hands all at once.
Okay, so can I just say something? I'm gonna let you go. Always have a question. You've been told that before, right, as a coach?
Yep.
Yep, please. Always have a question. Always, always, always have a question. Okay, your question.
Hey, if there's no specific questions, can you talk about what energizes you to the panel?
What energizes, what's that? So what energizes?
You had mentioned that after what de-energizes them, you would ask what energizes.
No, well, I think they answered. She was saying moving people forward, and I'll have you all when they say what you said. Well,
helping others, being other-centered.
Yeah.
So that was sort of it blended into one question.
Right.
Okay.
I was better at that in my lawyer days.
Okay, I'm going to word this in such a way, and hopefully it's not like weird. Okay, so I like what you presented about, some stallion attitude. I had a male friend tell me, you don't know how to handle when people are, shouting at you, and he does. He really does. But what I want to know is, because when people are shouting at me, especially if it's in a professional workplace, some ugly things want to come out of my mouth, and I don't want to, because I believe that there's a higher power. I believe in God. So I don't want to speak that way, but that's the immediate thing that wants to come out of me. So I want to know, how do you go from that to where, even where you're at, you're already progressing on, to where you can, sort of, and you're already there, or probably still working on it, because it's difficult. So I want to know. I don't think I can go from A to Z, but I want to move forward. But I believe, though, however, if I have time, sometimes I've written things back to people, but I didn't send them. But currently, I'm starting to send them. No. Revise. But you know what happened? But you know what happened is that the last time God was part of that, so it came out right. And you know this person kind of backed off, but then the way they are, like I think we spoke about it, Brandon, people that aren't happy about your passion, you know, and so right on. Because that's why I'm trying to go, but it is a relative, and I love her, but anyway.
And one thing I'll say about creating conflict in our lives, and this is very hard for me because I was a negative person, I'm a positive person. I'm susceptible to negativity, but when you're being truly authentic and you're being truly powerful, if you're doing it correctly, people are not only going to not like you, some people are actually going to hate you. And if you have a question on that, Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, Gandhi, anyone who's changed the world spoke about what they believed and what their truth was. And how many people didn't like that? How many people actually viscerally hated them for what they said? Half a country hated Abraham Lincoln for what he said. And to make the change we want, not just in our, it doesn't have to be that global scale, but to be truly authentic, we have to risk not being liked. And I'd almost argue that we should almost celebrate it in a strange way. Because if we're not liked by the right people, then we're doing the right thing.
And I'm liked by everybody.
You're loved. I'll say you're loved. I'm just saying that sometimes negativity is not negativity, it's a reflection of us being powerful.
I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sure that this question is too long to answer completely here, but
going off of what you were just talking about being heard, I think a lot of us here that I've met are in pretty male-dominant professions, and so something that I struggle with is being heard. Do both of you women have any advice, and then you as a man, do you have any advice for women?
We talked about that a little bit.
Sam, you go first.
I'm in a male-dominated industry, and you wouldn't think that because kitchen work should be for the ladies, right? Well, it's male-dominated, and I decided to go play with boys. So I joined the boys club, and as I mentioned before, the best way to be heard is to first use your truth. You know, bring people in and communication skills. So find out some truths from a gentleman. If you're having difficult, you know, just say, what is it that makes you successful? You can have an open conversation, or what do you want me to do better? And then the next part is become what I call the trusted advisor, or the solid person on the team or in the workplace. When we talk about hostility, because some of the issues, I don't know if it's the testosterone, but some men, you know, are just a little more like this, and they, you know, it's sometimes a little frightening. And what I do is I count to 10 backwards, you know, 10, 9 in my head, right at the spot. And I also have a mantra I say that I've learned from church, but there's other mantras, and then you calm yourself and then answer. So it just depends on the situation, but we are women, and we used to not be in the workplace as often, and we're still fewer than the gentlemen, so they got to learn how to play nice.
I think that the conflict is key, because sometimes they just banter in a conflictory kind of way. Does that make sense? And I've learned to just go kind of bubble stuff and just go, yeah, okay, you know, and you just, as a transition. So sometimes I have found myself as the transition person, yeah, okay. The other thing I've learned is that we as women like to tell stories, and sometimes guys don't want to hear a whole story. And so and the day isn't that long for a whole story. So we need to figure out ways to get our point across a little faster. You know, I don't know if it's using analogies or idioms, or, you know, just repeating back to them what they say, you know. It's just a different communication style. I think for us older folks, we've had to adapt to the guy style, which is unfortunate. I see in younger groups, that's not necessarily the case. It's more of an equitable conversation, which is a good thing, but you know, I'm not part of those groups, so. But I do think if you're in a man-run space, you have to figure out your unique contribution to that space.
I go to a conference every year called the Better Man Conference, which is literally what if men were just better men. How novel is that? We'd have like 90% less trouble. But I've learned to listen to brilliant women. I think if men just stop talking so much and listen more, that'd be great. But I can share with you one of the best stories I've ever heard on this. It was a training session I did with this woman from Alpharetta, Georgia. Was in a really male-dominated industry. She was the first woman to ever get promoted to a VP role in this company. And at the end of the first week in all these executive meetings, her boss comes in and yells at her and says, "How dare you?" The CEO just came into my room and said, and these are exact, I'm quoting here, "We passed up 4 good men for this woman. Why did you push for her so hard?" And he goes, "Why have you not spoken once in this meeting?" She goes, "A, I was listening. B, it's my first week in a job. And the few times I did try to talk, everyone talked over me. I feel like you all just talk to hear yourself speak." And he goes, "Well, say something then," and he leaves. And I love this story because at the end of the week, the same guy comes in, he goes, "Well, now I'm really pissed." She goes, "What did I do now? I talked in every meeting, every day. I said something. The dumbest thing that came to my mind. I said it." He goes, "No, that's not why I'm mad." The CEO came to me and said, "Well, now I'm really mad. She should have been in the room 10 years ago. It would be a billion-dollar company today." Aww. Same woman 2 weeks later. And so sometimes the greatest risk doesn't come in saying the wrong thing. It comes in saying nothing. And so I love that story because it's the same woman, and she's still one of the top people in that company, and frankly, in the industry in the world. So I love that story.
I hate to not be able to let you guys move on from this topic, but when she spoke up and said that she had been yelled in the office, there were flutters in my section of people being like, "Yeah, I've been through that situation as well."
And I've been through that situation as well, and I think it was really funny what you were saying, Diane, that millennials don't tolerate anything. Because, I'm sorry, I'm a millennial, and I'm the only female in my department, and I have a direct supervisor who always yells at me. And the first thing I said to him when he first yelled at me was, in this exact tone, he said, "I understand your opinion, I understand the argument you're making, please do not yell at me in the office. I do not think this is workplace behavior, so I would really like to be able to talk as adults with you." And this made him yell more. And so it took another man who had walked in our office and listened to this conversation to be like, "Hey, stop, get in my office. You all cannot be yelling." But there were several other people in this office setting before this man had walked in, and they were all just listening. They were just compliant, kind of. I don't think they knew what to do. Yes. I don't think they knew what to do. I don't know if they had wanted to speak up for me, or they just had wanted to see what happens, or to let me decide what happens. I do this every time. He yells at me frequently, so I do this exact thing to him every time. Like, "Do not yell at me." And I don't know. Am I being a snowflake? Should I have?
By now, or
that sounds exhausting. I'm exhausted to listen to you. You guys, look, and it's a crazy world out there. And I've had jobs in city government, I've had jobs in private sector, I have had jobs in philanthropy, and it's just nuts. Because personally, I believe that not everybody who's at the table should be at the table, right? And frequently that's easy to see. And frequently we're not in positions to deal with, to take care of that. That person shouldn't be in that job anymore. However, what I have learned is that if I'm gonna stay in a job and it's kind of a crazy space, like, okay, what am I gonna learn and take away that I'll be able to put in my other job? And I don't necessarily need a skill. What you know now is how to talk to a crazy guy. Because you're gonna encounter that person in another body when you leave that job. I can guarantee it. So now you have that skill on how to do that. And I can't say this enough to everyone in here. Find a way to speak up. Find a way. And it's not the same for everyone. But find a way to do that. Like I said, I have some key phrases, with all due respect, or I'll stand up, I'll walk around the table. You know, find something that works for you, but you've got to learn to speak up, because that's the only way, as we see, that they will respect you. And at the end of the day, you can't be successful if they don't trust and respect you. And that's basically what you were saying about that woman.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Okay, so here's, if I can, I'm just gonna then, here's what I've got from a few takeaways. One, I'm gonna be a really intelligent man and just repeat, and repeat some brilliant women. Trust your gut when in doubt. When we can't trust our gut, trust either a higher power or a pack. I like that one. Problem solving's not enough. You got to take action. Go get those generators out. And if they break, go get new ones. You have it in you. I love that one. And I don't know, you know, there's things, this is not my issue. That's not your issue. This guy's issues are not your issues. It's your issues because it affects you. And people don't speak up because they're afraid. But you are courageous. So keep on being courageous. And I love, trusted advisors are brilliant. Keep on being that. And let's keep on speaking up for one another. I'll do that as my part for trying to be a better man. But I know that I'm in the room with some of the best women on the planet. Fight on.
Thank you, everyone. And I'm so sorry to have to close this conversation, because it seems like everyone was really engaged and involved, and that's wonderful. And we still have about 15 minutes to network and maybe ask our panelists some more questions informally as we do so.
Yeah, do you want to? Sorry, we have gifts too.
Ooh. Okay, great. Just one more.
Okay,
Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Gordillo. I'm the Director of Alumni Affinity Programs at USC's Alumni Association. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. It was a very lively discussion. I want to thank the panelists. They were fabulous. Thank you. And I hope all of you enjoyed the discussion and that you leave with renewed, empowered, and with ideas and even some context to help you in your professional endeavors. I think the exercise made that happen as well. I'd like to also take a moment to recognize a very special alumni leader in the audience, Jamie Lee, President of the USC Alumni Association's Board of Governors. I would also like to remind you to stay connected with USC through the Society of Trojan Women, as well as our other great communities and programs. In the new year, we're looking forward to more exciting events, including our 7th annual USC Alumni Day of Service on Saturday, March 10th, and of course, as Danielle mentioned earlier, our 10th annual USC Women's Conference from Thursday to Saturday, March 22nd to the 24th. And now I hope you'll stay with us a little longer, like 10 minutes. Definitely, and continue networking. On behalf of the USC Alumni Association, I wish everyone a joyful holiday season and hope to see you in the coming year. Thank you all for coming, and fight on.
We have a few gifts for our speakers who have been very gracious with their time, but I want to take a minute just and recognize our board members who have been just so supportive and have really, it's been a team effort. So our board president this year is Noriko Kelly. Can you stand up? Our head of social media and promotions is Rebecca Mesa, who has done our who else is see Alicia Jakob is here, and she's been a tremendous help. Is Eileen still here? Eileen Weiss? These ladies got, let me tell you what these ladies did to get this thing going. Everybody who said they were interested on our Facebook page, they reached out to all those 100 or so people who said they were interested, and both of them took the list and divvied it up and reached back and really brought in a number of names. Who else is here? Jamila, our past president, is here. Jamila? Who am I missing? Oh, Yadira. Yadira is our board treasurer. Anybody else? Am I missing anybody? Ah, Paula, how are you, Paula? Paula Tech's here. Hillary, I saw Hillary earlier. Is Hillary still here? Hey, Hillary. Lily is here. Also, I think Lily was there. And I think next to you. Yes, Devin. Hi, Devin. How are you? She's new. She's a newer board member. But we have a great team, and it was a great effort by everybody who pulled it all together. But I want to give these gifts out to our group. Diane, thank you.
Thank you, my dear. You want to pass them down?
You can. That's great. Christina, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Brandon, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all. We appreciate it. It's another round of applause.
Lori got some book gifts for people who ask questions, and so it's we should all be feminists. Presence by Amy Cuddy, my favorite book to recommend, and this is going to the person who's getting the boss, who's kind of the worst. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Check out We Should All Be Feminists TED Talk, as well as Amy Cuddy's TED Talk. Okay. Thank you, Nori. I'll give these out.
So we're just going to have some food and drink that's going to come around for the next